Right, so it's the start of pre-season this week for Nottingham Forest. The players are back in training ahead of the first friendly of the season against Chesterfield away from home, just as it was last year. We really are now at that stage where we need to assess what's what and who needs to come and go in the squad, especially with players coming back from loan, players that just need to be sold, and especially now we are looking very thin in one area of the team. We already knew that we needed a winger to come in this summer, at least one winger to support Callum Hudson-Odoi and Anthony Elanga, with Ramon Sosa reportedly joining Palmeiras, as we mentioned last week and we'll talk about in a moment. We needed to sign at least one, but now we've got to sign at least two. Maybe even three if Jota Silva is to leave the club. I mean, I'll be keen to keep him around, mainly because we're now going to lose not only Ramon Sosa, but Anthony Elanga. Yes, it is now all but confirmed that Anthony Elanga will be joining Newcastle United for a club record fee paid for a Forest player of 55 million. This is very sad, but I think you've got to look at it in a positive sense that we're going to get a lot of money for him. I don't think we desperately needed that money either, and yet we're going to get it, so it's only going to help us. And I've got to say, I am disappointed. Of course I am. I love Elanga. Last season, he just got better and better throughout it. And the funny thing is he didn't even really start last season that well. We saw the end of the last summer transfer window, Newcastle put in that bid when the interest first started in Elanga. What followed was an ineffective start to last season where he just didn't really do a great deal, and people were generally saying at one stage, why didn't we accept that bid? We've gone from that to, I think most of us being very disappointed that we're not getting maybe even more than 55 million for Elanga. That's how much he improved from that Aston Villa game at Christmas onwards, where he scored against Villa, against Brentford, against Tottenham, and he never looked back. He only got better. That Ipswich game, that was a vintage display from him. That unbelievable solo goal against Man United, he really was somebody who produced some of the most important moments of last season for us. So big shoes to fill, really big shoes to fill. I don't think it's impossible. I think it would be harder to replace Morgan Gibbs-White, for example, but I would have rather it happen now than at the end of the transfer window when we've got to scramble around for a player with a few days to go potentially. We really didn't want that to be happening. Elanga's set to sign a 5-year deal at Newcastle and have his medical within the next 48 hours and then join their team for pre-season by the end of the week. This is according to Fabrizio Romano and The Athletic. And to think that we signed him for 13.5 million, I actually thought it was more than that, but that is the fee. And we sold him for 55 2 years later. I mean, you know, that is incredible business. Also worth pointing out, Man United are going to get a small cut of this as well. They're probably going to get, I believe, around about 8 or 9 million. So they're going to get a sell-on fee in this, but we're going to get the majority of the money, which has got to be useful for us to reinvest not only in players we already needed, but we've now got to replace Elanga as well. So I think we need at least two wingers now to replace Elanga and then replace Ramon Sosa, who is also set to leave the club too, for a reported 14 million euros to join Brazilian side Palmeiras, so a return to South America for Sosa. This is nowhere near as much of a loss, of course, but it is another player in that same position we're going to be selling for a good fee, saying we didn't really play him much last season. Maybe a wasted potential with him, really. I think there was clearly a decent player in there that just didn't really get probably enough chances. So good luck to Elanga. I have not got any ill feelings towards him at all. I think he's a top guy and a top player, and I generally, unfortunately, think he suits Newcastle really well. I think he can do very well for them. Let's just hope he doesn't do well for them when he comes back to the City ground and when we get to St James's. Yeah, gutted about that, to be honest. Now, to lighten the mood, we have seen Ola Aina sign a new deal at the club this week after several months worth of negotiations and speculation. It seemed we've been hearing about it for a while, but we have seen it happen, and I'm really delighted about that. You know, to tie down Nico and Ola to new deals, Nuno as well, all within the last few weeks is fantastic. And we also want to give Callum Hudson-Odoi a new deal as well, which is arguably one of the most important ones now because we've got such a lack of wingers. Got to keep Hudson-Odoi around now because, you know, he is our main man on the wing now, isn't it? There's only Jota Silva that can rival him at the moment. So it's great that we're keeping hold of most of our players, but I think we're always going to see one leave. One key player, that is. Now, before we talk about any more potential incomings and outgoings, one not so high level player that's leaving the club, but one that I do think we need to talk about is Tyler Bindon joining Sheffield United. This is probably a good move for him. It's a big upgrade from League One. Can he adapt to a higher level? I think he probably can. It's a shame it's to Sheffield United, but we'll go with it. I am a bit disappointed we're not going to see him in pre-season. I really was genuinely very keen to see Bindon get a couple of games because I really think there's a player in there, and arguably wouldn't have looked out of his place if we'd kept him around the squad. But I do think it's probably the right move for him to go and get another season of hopefully regular football at a much higher level than what he's been playing at, just to see how good he really is. But maybe the reason for letting Bindon go on loan is because we still want to sign Jar Cunha from Botafogo. Of course, this is another Botafogo player that we've been linked with for a long time now. We've already seen Jesus confirmed. Is Cunha going to come in and probably help Jesus settle and another Brazilian player join Forest? I wouldn't be surprised. Apparently, we have now agreed a 5-year deal for Cunha. It's got a bit quiet, really. It was just one report out of the blue, and now I've heard it for a few days. So we've got to wait on this one to see if it is actually true or not. But I wouldn't mind this at all, you know. I don't fully know how we're going to make it work with Morato and then Bolly. Like, is one of those going to get pushed out, or even going to sell Morato and bring in Cunha? It's all going to be, you know, seen in time, isn't it? But I wouldn't be against it at all. He clearly looks like a top defender, but it's very much still in the works, it seems. But let's go back to the winger situation and a potential replacement for Anthony Elanga, and a player that we've seemingly had interest in for a little while now, Jonna Bakayoko. Right, it's not Jonna, it's Johan. I mean, it's not a very hard name to say, really, is it? It's the same as Johan Cruyff. This is a very intriguing rumour because he does look very similar of a player to Anthony Elanga. Now, you know, I've watched every single Eredivisie game for PSV. I'm a super fan, right? I know exactly what to expect from Bakayoko. I've not seen him much, okay? I'm not going to claim to be an expert, but from just clips that you've seen on YouTube, he does look like a similar sort of player to an Elanga. And that's probably what we should really be going for. We need to try and replace that direct pace that Elanga had, and that flair, that skill that Elanga offered, that directness. And Bakayoko looks all of that from what I've seen. And this is a player that Newcastle are also interested in, only I believe this was an alternative to Elanga if they couldn't get Elanga, so I doubt they'll go for him as well. But Monaco also showing an interest in Bakayoko too. He's been a regular for PSV in the Eredivisie the last few seasons now and been very prolific for them. So, you know, contract till 2026, he's only got a year left on his contract. Will PSV be tempted to sell? Possibly because of that. We've not seen anything really big about this one though. We haven't had a David Ornstein or a Fabrizio Romano tweet about it. Hold that thought, David, because I've literally just finished recording this video and I'm going to add this bit in. We've just had a John Percy exclusive saying that we do want to sign Bakayoko. So yeah, there has now been an official communication saying that we do want to sign Bakayoko from PSV. I'm just reading the report as we speak because I've literally just seen it. But yes, it's official now. We are after Bakayoko, around 30 million apparently. So, you know, a decent amount of what we are going to get for Elanga. But Forest are clearly keen on getting in a replacement as soon as possible, as well as bringing in players to support Hudson-Odoi. And if we had Elanga staying, regardless, we needed somebody there, so it's good to see us moving quick. And the only other big rumour in that we've seen this week that we have seen one of Fab or David Ornstein tweet about is Victor Christiansen. Probably somebody who I wouldn't have expected to be talking about one of these videos this summer. A Leicester City player, a fullback for Leicester, obviously got relegated last year in a horrific defence and horrific season for them. So on the surface, I'm not that encouraged, if I'm honest. However, the likes of Everton, Sunderland and Roma showing an interest, so a bit of a mixed bag there in teams, Premier League teams and then a European side as well. Contract till 2028 for Christensen at Leicester. He's only 22, so plenty of years left in him to get better. And I don't know how I didn't know this. I kind of knew it, but not fully. He was part of the team for Bologna that qualified for the Champions League for the first time a couple of seasons ago. So there's clearly a good player in there. Okay, he's playing for Leicester and he wasn't great for Leicester and they got relegated with them. He plays for Leicester. That's going to be a bit of a controversy of signing from them. I'm still not convinced, if I'm honest, but based off what he did at Bologna, I think we probably shouldn't keep this into touch completely. And if we sign someone like Christensen to be like a Harry Toffolo or just be a backup, not that someone who's not going to play loads of games. I mean, could Christensen of Bologna do any worse than Alex Moreno at the end of last season? I mean, probably not. So again, I'm not going to completely disregard this one, but it's one that I think we probably have a few question marks over at the same time. And one of the story in terms of outgoings that I probably should mention is Lewis O'Brien. Another update on him, Wrexham apparently now interested in signing him. I told you it's basically every club in the Championship. This one just feels like a match made in heaven, really. Wrexham's project, one of the best players in the Championship going there. I just think it completely makes sense. And this time, it should be a permanent deal. We can actually see O'Brien go for a fee and a decent fee as well. I think it's about 5 million plus. It's going to be a record fee for Wrexham if they do it. So yeah, never a quiet week at Nottingham Forest. A big player departure, all but confirmed. And obviously, yeah, we've seen Jesus coming to the club, a number of rumours. Not too many rumours in this week, but you know, still plenty of talking. And I'm going to stop it there. I don't want to bore you anymore. If you have enjoyed this video, then please hit the like button, subscribe to Rads if you're new to the channel. There should be another video this week. I think depending on the Elanga situation and all that and anything else that happens, I want to try and bring you as much stuff as I can that's up to date in terms of the transfer window as possible. So stay tuned to it all, everybody. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on all I've spoken about in this video if you can. And yeah, thanks for watching and up the Reds.